Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are at. Hope you having a fantastic day. It's SoulSaint here, and we got a banger video coming up for you guys. We got a new fusion for Blizaar, the Howler. A legendary Ogrin Spirit defense champion. I did kind of feel like the Ogres definitely needed it. We're going to do a breakdown of his kit, see where he's going to be useful at for us, as well as anywhere on your account as you're progressing, or if you're in-game. As well as we're going to do a look-see at what he looks like. Matter of fact, let's do that first. Let's take a look at what he's got going on for him. I believe we have a turnaround video that we could take a look at. This guy looks good. And I'm not going to lie, I'm actually very, very impressed with, like, I say this all the time, and I feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but, like, when it comes to the graphic department, their champion designs are mint. Mint. You guys see the bells, by the way, right? And he's breathing out of... Like, why did they put it in the Ogrin tribe of all places? I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised. Like, if you guys look at, like, the way he looks, it doesn't scream Ogrin for me. Y'all see the frozen hand on the left shoulder? Oh, no. I see more bells on his waist, too, as well. Yeah, he's got bells everywhere, actually. Oh, my goodness. Now, his feet look a little funny. I ain't gonna lie. His feet do look like just like a straight-up log of, like, ice or snow or whatever, which is kind of interesting. It is kind of thematic, too. It makes sense in terms of, like, being very on theme with Christmas. You see, I forget what they put that on the door. What is this thing that they call... y'all let me know what this is called, where people hang these... I forget, what is it? A little circle, like, tree thing that goes on doors. I don't know. Anyways, let's do a breakdown on this kid. Frozen Caltrops. Attacks 3 enemies... 3 times at random, excuse me. Each hit has a 40% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn, which has an increased chance to 50% on an A1. Interesting. Okay, so freeze being the case. I think that's where we're going to see a lot of. So this guy's kind of like very frost-oriented. It makes sense. Cryotherapy on a 5-turn cooldown, which can be booked down to a 3-turn cooldown. Removes any stun, sleep, fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, and petrification debuff from all allies. Nice. Then places an increased defense buff, on all allies for 2 turns. Nice. Also places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. Nice. Yeah, that is actually kind of nasty. So on a 3-turn cooldown, getting increased defense for 2 turns and then ally protect for 2 turns means that when you're going through the course of a fight, you have a 1-turn downtime on those buff efficiencies, and as well as you're getting like a super cleanse. That's not bad. That's actually really, really solid. Spike Blizzard, his A3 is going to be an attack all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. So it's an AoE freeze. Also has a 75% chance of decreasing the turn meter of all enemies by 30%. It can be booked up to 100% with a 4-turn cooldown once fully booked. 100% freeze. And a 100% turn meter reduction. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. He's a really good utility style type champion. I wonder what his damage multipliers are going to be like. I think that's going to be the thing that's going to set apart whether or not this guy's going to be worthwhile investing into. Abominable Snowgrin. That's funny. It has a passive and an active effect on a 4-turn cooldown, which can be booked down to a 3-turn cooldown. Whenever an enemy tries to place a freeze debuff on this champion, instantly transfer it from this champion to that enemy. Whenever this champion is killed, revives them with 30% HP and 30% turn meter, and places a revive death buff on them for 1 turn. So, whenever you try to place a freeze debuff on this champion, instantly transfers it from this champion to that enemy. What does this sound like a counter towards? Who places freezes? Maybe the new dwarf you're getting that everybody's going to have a chance to get? Okay, sounds like a response to that. Yakarl. Okay. Creodin, for that matter. Anybody that does freeze... it instantly transfers it to that enemy instead. But it does have a cooldown on it. The active effect is whenever this champion is killed, it revives him. So it's kind of like... it is kind of like Torment in that sense, right? But it also gives them 30% HP and 30% turn meter, which can get frozen. So depending on how this passive kicks in... he'll revive. It may proc something like a Torment passive. And if the passive effect wasn't already triggered, then it will redirect straight to him. So he kind of gives like some form of control against like a Torment. It's a really good response to Torment, I think, for sure. Just being able to bounce back in general just makes him also a pretty valuable champion because it gives you a chance at a ghost second strategy. a second win type effect. You know, like you're not fully out of the fight, even though you may have gotten one tap from your team. Revive on Death is pretty good for that. But I will say that it does give a lot more validity to a rising meta, and that we get like a Revive on Death with like Mariska for the entire team. Sun Wukong's passive is a Revive on Death basically every 3 turns. She's got a little cycle cooldown on it, and that's bred the need for like deny revive, you know, from champions like a Nithway, right? So like this champion is also still susceptible to something like that. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the passive is cool against like specific targets like Torment. I don't think that Torment is gonna be used by everybody. Top end, I don't foresee it. I think there may be some case use chances and opportunities for sure. But, I mean, you still got the Mariska, you still got the Terrace combo that you have to go against, and some of the other more known staples, right? Which is where, like, I would say, like, that passive doesn't have as much value. Being able to control people with freeze also is right now currently susceptible to polymorph type effects, which makes that a very dangerous game to play, because you may remove the whole value, which I think you would probably want to lean in if you're going to go from a PvP standpoint with this champion, which is his A2. Polymorphing him removes the ally protect for your team, because there's no one that's, you know, protecting it, right? By getting sheeped. Same thing like Necro. Necro's protecting all the champions. If you sheep him with like a Sun Wukong, the ally protect for everybody else falls off, right? Which is kind of annoying. But if you lean more into that A2 as a protector, he could be a viable opportunity for someone that goes like in a go second type strategy. I mean, it's a mix between like giving increased defense and ally protect. Who can we think of that does something like that similarly? Maybe not in the direct sense, but Ursaga, who provides like ally protection, increased defense. I mean, there's a plethora of champions that do that, as well as a cleanse. Think about your Pythions, for example, that they may fit in there. And then he does have a chance to like give some pseudo control with like freeze. Maybe you can kind of lock out a DPS champion that doesn't have polymorph, and that you can get value that way to kind of hold it down, right? So that could be a value there. I think the big one that Plarium was kind of like giving us a visibility standpoint on was Fire Knight. I won't lie, I agree and disagree at the same time, because I do feel like there are other champions of lower rarities, believe it or not, that do it a little bit better. So I feel like Creoden, for example, would probably be a much more fortuitous champion to consider for something like Fire Knight Hard. And then, of course, this does not supersede the GOAT, G-Nut himself. I think G-Nut is the literal best. Like, in terms of, like, turn meter manipulation via freezes, G-Nut is the absolute best right now, currently still in this meta, right? But that's not to say that Blizaar couldn't be a complementary champion. Now, in the team builds that I've done for various different accounts, including my own, I incorporate decreased speed, which comes from like a champion like a Carl, who also freezes. So I feel like in terms of maybe like control for enemy waves as you're progressing through, you know, round 1 and 2 of Fire Knight Hard, Spike Blitzer could be very valuable there. It is on a 4-turn cooldown, which I think is comparable to something like your Carl's A3. And that might actually even be more consistent. However, in terms of like getting that A2 value from your Carl compared to the A1 or A3 from Blizaar, I feel like is very lackluster. Now, although it says attack 3 times at random, if there's only one target when you're fighting Fire Knight, for example, 3 of those targets being hit at random are all going to go to one target because it's only one target in play, right? So, although it looks like randomization is a very, it's kind of like a lower side value because you have no element of control with that ability, and that's one of the things that's valued very highly in terms of like my opinion about whether a champion is going to be S tier or not. Is like, are there dependencies under their character? Is there a lack of element of control that you can't control when it comes to the character's kit? Any of those type of 2 scenarios kind of brings down the value of a champion. So having something at random is kind of a drop in value. However, when it comes to single target type effects where you can get value out of a freeze, that's a 50% chance. It is comparable to, I would say, like your Carl's A1 as well. And we can take a look at that here for just a brief moment. It seems like they made him as a complementary champion, but I don't think he's going to be the one that supersedes it. So yeah, it's going to be like a 50% chance as well, similar to your Carl's A1, which is why I would say that I would look at this champion, if you have G-Nut, as a secondary value. You want to get him Blizaar to work with G-Nut, not as a replacement to G-Nut. And I would dare say that, like, he is equivalent, maybe even slightly less valuable than someone like Yakaro, who is accessible for everybody as long as you look at the clan shop, right? So I will say that, like, if you're going to right now consider your options for, like, champions, and I'm just going to kind of express this in terms of my thoughts and overall opinions about this champion right now. Currently, I would say that he's okay. He's good, depending on how you want to use him. I think from like a utility standpoint for cleansing and being able to provide some protections as a go second strategy in PvP, there's something there. There's something there. And we'd have to see his multipliers, his base stats to further justify that. From a damage outlet, that also stands true in this sense too. So I don't want to go too premature speculation to say this champion is not worth it. In terms of like stat values, we have to see how his multipliers are going to look when it comes to the damage output. Maybe he's a hitter, and we're not perceptive of it based off of the information we have so far. But also from like that utility standpoint, there is a lot of strong capability here, and he is a direct response to someone like Torment, who is currently active in the Yuletide event. But I would say if I was a free-to-play player who is having to consider going for one or the other and not both, I think that right now, from a consistency standpoint, this character was created because of another character being strong, potentially, like in Torment, right? So I think that would breathe more value into avoid like Legendary being a higher priority at this point, particularly for like Torment being the better focus. So I would say right now, currently, I lean more towards Torment as that example of the choice. If I had to pick between the two, I would probably go for that. But I don't think that we want to diminish the capability that this champion has. So let's not get too lost in the premature speculation of things. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think. Do you think we're going to be getting ourselves a good champion this Christmas event? Do you guys think there's anything else that's coming along the way? I have a feeling that there's something that's going to be worth looking at. And if you haven't seen it, maybe come check out my YouTube or my live streams on Twitch, because we're actually going to talk about it right after this video recording. Anyways, with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, stay ascended.